Alright, so Secrets of the Obscure is about to come out on August 22nd. That means that there's going to be a whole bunch of new content that we're going to be able to mess around with.
Nice.
We're talking open world legendaries. Yes! We're talking the whole sky scale things, relics, story, all these different things that are going to be happening.
But now you have my attention.
But what is the right thing to do first? Now, previously with other expansions with Guild Wars 2 and other MMOs, I've always just been completely discombobulated. I've not focused on one damn thing and just got it done completely. This time, now that I've been able to do this not only with End of Dragons, but something that I plan on doing with Secrets of the Obscure, is I'm picking out the first few things that I want to knock out as this expansion is coming out. So basically that I'm all caught up and that I'm good to go. So I'm not putting really any timetable on this. And that's not how I enjoy games. I don't like being rushed, especially when I'm experiencing new content coming through one of the games that I love. So I'm going to be taking my time as I approach these. However, this is the order and the, we'll say, priority list that I have of what 4 things that I need to get done first once this expansion comes out. So first, right out of the gate, and something that I always find myself lacking in, is finishing the story first. Now, with End of Dragons, when that came out, I essentially took that time to mess around with the builds and make PvP videos, and I didn't end up finishing the story until months later.
Hold up!
And even given that, the story was actually pretty good. I enjoyed the End of Dragons story. I thought that it wrapped up everything pretty well. However, I just didn't give myself that time. I said, I'll get to it eventually, and then it took 4 extra months and it was just a pain. So when Secrets of the Obscure comes out, my focus is going to be playing through the story. Now, I imagine that it'll be a little bit shorter than, say, End of Dragons. I'm hopeful that there is quite a bit of things to do while we are going through these new zones. And the story is actually very important for that matter, as this also allows us to go to each of the new zones and check them out, but more importantly, the strike missions that are going to be tied to this. Now, if they carry over what they did with End of Dragons, where essentially as you are going through your content and you are playing through this story, you passively unlock the strike missions as a repeatable event outside of story mode. Similar to what we saw with Aetherblade Hideout, with Kanang Overlook, Harvest Temple, the Junkyard, these different things that were a part of the story that we just passively did. Those are the only requirements that we have as you are moving forward. So knocking out the story and getting these strike missions unlocked first, I would say is probably my biggest priority. Next kind of ties into what I have been prepping for, which is of course going to be for the new relic system. So for those of you who don't know, Guild Wars 2 is taking the 6th rune added effect, so the 6th tier effect, which there's a wide variety of them, and is essentially extrapolating it from that item, from the runes, and making it into a relic, which is a separate customizable effect that you can slot your gear with and be good to go. Now, to be sure, those who have just the runes will still have their stat benefits, so power, toughness, vitality, whatever you're looking for. However, you'll be able to mix and match all the different 6-tier effects based off of what type of build you want to play. Now, Guild Wars 2 has hinted at quite a few ways that they're going to offer these relics and how you could acquire them.
Hi again, it's me.
More importantly, the ones that I've looked at is, of course, going to be some that are tied to reward tracks. I can imagine that would be PvP and Worldly World. Now, I don't know if they are going to all be, we'll say, the most optimal or, perfect for perfect DPS or anything like that, but it's more so along the lines of just unlocking it across the account and picking those up as you go through. Now, they've also hinted that you can craft some as well as you can purchase some from the trading post. I'd imagine that there are going to be some that are tied to maybe achievements tied with Secrets of the Obscure, or even specifically the strike missions. You finish a strike mission for the first time and you unlock a relic. I'm sure there's going to be quite a few different ways to do this, and this one might passively be completed as I'm just going through the story mission, what is my #1 priority. But the idea of it is just making sure that I'm setting myself up down the line so that I have the relics that I need and I'm good to go.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
This also might be a good time to talk about that they do have the legendary relic, which they've hinted at. I don't know if it'll be available at release. However, the idea is that the legendary relic is going to play like every other legendary in the game, where you earn that once and then you have all access to every relic in game. So I'd imagine that that would be very, very a high ticket item for people to get. Third for myself is actually going to be the Sky Scale. The Sky Scale Mastery is one of the major features tied here with the expansion. Now, I've gone through and unlocked all of the baseline Sky Scale skills. Ooh, that was tough to say. For Living World Season 4, I've already gotten that, knocked that out, we're good to go. The thing that is going to be adding on to this is the extra effects that are tied to the mastery line. Now, these end up being more kind of quality of life, we'll say, affects, and make your Sky Scale mastery a little bit easier and better. But more importantly, at the end of it, now I'm contradicting myself because initially I wasn't that interested in the new Sky Scale skin collection.
How dare you!
Which is tied to once you have unlocked both masteries in Living World Season 4, as well as in Secrets of the Obscure. They've hinted at this particular Sky Scale skin, which looks really cool, and it might be something that I want to go and get. I don't know, but I think that that's a good enough carrot on a stick for me to go ahead and finish this. And honestly, just I don't know what other masteries are going to be tied to it, but if I can get the Sky Scale one, I think I would be pretty happy. Now, this also kind of carries over with the other masteries. I'm not 100% sure of what they are all going to be. However, I'd imagine that it has something to do with like the Wizard's Vault, maybe some Astral Acclaim or Open World. Maybe it opens up the quest line or the collection line for the open world legendaries, which is what they've talked about. I'm not quite sure. But the only one that I know for sure that we have been able to see is the Sky Scale Masteries. And possibly one of the most fun, and I think I'll enjoy this the most, which is the build crafting and build testing once the Weapon Master changes have been placed into effect. So essentially what the Weapon Master changes are is that all of the elite specializations, so for example, my Elementalist. As a core Elementalist, I don't have access to the Hammer for the Catalyst, the Sword for the Weaver, or the Warhorn for the Tempest. Now, with Secrets of the Obscure, for the Weapon Master change, they are going to allow all three of those weapons to be baseline. So my core Elementalist can now use a Hammer, and my Weaver can also pick up a Warhorn. So there's a lot more customization going back and forth. And that's not even to mention down the line when they go ahead and put in these new weapon combinations, but this has been slated for later release. This is what they've talked about. But essentially, it's going to offer a whole bunch of new customization, a lot of cool new features and different ways that you can play. Specifically, I'd actually like to see the core Elementalist with a hammer. I actually think that that would be an excellent power build, especially running the arcane line. You could honestly put it in the air line as well. I think it would be airline. The air trait line, I think it would be really fun, and especially the customization that's across the line. And then this also offers a whole bunch of unique customizations, because now we're not even talking about just the weapons. We're including the relics. We're including the new features of whatever the new masteries are going to be. There's a lot of different customization that's going to go into this, and I think that's for one thing that I'm very excited. Then that's also going to be the least on my priority list. I know for a fact that, for example, my Hammer Catalyst or my Double Dagger Catalyst is still effective and still works. So I don't necessarily need to build test backwards and then worry about everything else. I still think my priority list of finishing the story, specifically so that I can unlock the new areas and then the strike missions, getting these relics ready so that any kind of build customization I have down the line, I can unlock and I'll be essentially good to go. Finishing up the masteries that are going to be tied to Secrets of the Obscure, which, by the way, if you do have boosters, so experience boosters, guild boosters, things along that, you can kind of speed that along and you can get more experience faster. It's really cool. But then, yes, of course, falling back into this idea of figuring out what is the most kind of fun build. And honestly, I've been having a whole lot of fun with my RP build, so hopefully we'll see what happens with that. Secrets of the Obscure is here. It is a great time to go ahead and get into it. If you are a new player and you are just coming into all this and you just need someone to give you a baseline refresher of what Guild Wars 2 is, check this video out here. This is going to be the baseline new player's guide, beginner's guide to Guild Wars 2 in 2023. Stay caffeinated, folks.